The narrator, Fumiya Tomozaki, talks about his life and his experience playing a popular online game called Super Attack Families, or Tackfam for short. He describes the game as having a large player base and being highly regarded in the gaming world. Despite being a top-ranked player in the game, Tomozaki feels frustrated with his real-life situation. He contrasts himself with his classmate, Shuji Nakamura, who excels in various aspects of life such as academics, sports, and popularity. Tomozaki feels like he's on the losing side in real life but finds success and recognition in the game. Tomozaki reflects on his in-game character choice and attributes his frustrations to his character's abilities. He discusses strategies and matchups within the game, suggesting that success depends on understanding these dynamics. He also criticizes the tendency of some gamers to blame the game itself when they lose, rather than reflecting on their own skills and efforts. Fumiya Tomozaki shares his perspective on life and how he feels it's unfair and unbalanced. He believes that people face discrimination based on their appearance, physique, and age, and despite putting in effort, they may not succeed if they face health issues. Tomozaki reflects on his experiences playing the game Tackfam with Shuji Nakamura, a popular and successful classmate. He feels isolated and disconnected from others most of the time and sees life as filled with unreasonable rules and inequalities. He compares life to a game and himself to a skilled player who has dominated many games in the past. However, he feels that life is like a garbage game because it doesn't seem fair or balanced. Tomozaki discusses the improvements he notices in another player, referred to as No Name, who is ranked second nationally. He realizes that No Name is focusing on defensive strategies, likely to challenge Tomozaki in the future. Despite his frustration with life and feeling unnoticed, Tomozaki acknowledges the upcoming challenge of facing Nakamura in Tackfam and prepares to take notes on their match. He encounters Aoi Hinami, a highly accomplished and admired student at their school. Aoi is known for her athletic prowess, particularly in track and field, as well as her intelligence and classic Japanese beauty. Despite feeling inadequate in comparison to Aoi's success, the narrator is in awe of her. Tomozaki meets with Aoi after playing Tackfam with Shuji, another classmate. When asked who won the game, Shuji admits to losing. Aoi dismisses the importance of the outcome and encourages Tomozaki not to be influenced by Shuji's comments. Later, Tomozaki meets with No Name, a mysterious player from the game, who turns out to be Aoi. Tomozaki is surprised to discover Aoi's identity and feels disappointed that No Name is someone he knows from school. They reflect on the disparity between the online gaming world and real life, feeling disheartened by the revelation. Despite the disappointment, Tomozaki acknowledges the reality of the situation and decides to keep their feelings to himself, realizing that some truths are best left unsaid. Tomozaki apologizes for being rude to Nanashur. Tomozaki expresses frustration, feeling like a bottom-tier character in life's game, constantly ridiculed and lacking confidence. Tomozaki criticizes those who seem to effortlessly succeed in life, feeling resentful towards them. Nanashur tries to understand Tomozaki's perspective but also challenges him to consider that life isn't entirely unfair. Tomozaki believes they can't change their circumstances like they could change characters in a game. Suddenly, there's a shift in the scene, and Tomozaki finds themselves in a different setting, facing someone they assume to be Aoi's sibling. They're confused and surprised by the sudden change in location and conversation. Aoi Hinami reveals herself to be the person talking to Tomozaki. She explains that by removing her makeup, she's showing how appearances can change with effort. Aoi emphasizes that improving appearance isn't just about makeup, it's also about expression and posture. Tomozaki, feeling frustrated, questions why they couldn't excel in Tackfam despite putting in effort. Aoi disagrees, stating that life isn't as unfair as Tomozaki believes. She believes life has rules that can be understood and mastered with effort. Although Tomozaki still considers life to be a garbage game, Aoi acknowledges that blaming the game without effort is a mistake. She respects Tomozaki's skills in the game and wants to help him understand the rules of life. However, she recognizes that they may not fully understand each other's perspectives. Tomozaki reflects on Aoi's statement that life is a god-tier game. He initially believed Tackfam to be the ultimate game, but Aoi's perspective changes his mind. Tomozaki admits to being overly obsessed with Tackfam, seeking validation in the game. He realized that while Tackfam is important to him, it's equally significant to recognize life's value. Aoi's recognition of her efforts in both the game and real life makes her reconsider her priorities. Despite feeling contradictory, Tomozaki decides to embrace Aoi's perspective and give life a chance. He acknowledged that understanding the value of life requires experiencing it firsthand, just as a gamer would explore a new game. Tomozaki's newfound willingness to engage with life reflects his acceptance of Aoi's insight and his readiness to learn the rules of this new game. They compare life to starting a game with character creation, emphasizing the freedom and possibilities that lie ahead. Aoi gives Tomozaki a task to wear a mask and practice smiling to improve his appearance. She explains that smiling can change people's perceptions and wants Tomozaki to practice it regularly. Aoi sets up regular meetings with Tomozaki to review his progress and assigns him goals to improve his life satisfaction. Their ultimate goal is to be content with his offline life. Aoi compares this process to training for Tackfam, emphasizing the importance of setting small and medium goals to achieve the ultimate one. She also mentions exchanging Tackfam friend codes, showing her enthusiasm for their friendship and shared interest in the game. The scene ends with Aoi declaring Tomozaki as a player in the game of life and outlining the steps they'll take together to improve his life satisfaction. Aoi sets a medium goal for Tomozaki to have a girlfriend before their third year of high school starts. She explains that they'll work towards this goal by completing daily tasks. For today's task, Tomozaki must talk to at least 3 girls at school. Tomozaki feels overwhelmed by the challenge, especially since he struggled with social interactions. He believed the goal is too high for him, given his current status as a bottom-tier character in the game of life. Despite his doubts, Tomozaki acknowledges Aoi's seriousness in assigning the task. He feels uneasy but recognizes that he has no choice but to try. This signifies Tomozaki's willingness to step out of his comfort zone and tackle the challenges ahead. At Sekitomo High School, girls can choose to wear either a ribbon or a necktie as part of their uniform. However, there's an unwritten rule that unpopular girls aren't allowed to wear neckties. Hinami, a student, provided notes about whom to talk to and what to discuss for a task. 2 girls were identified as Team Necktie. The first is Yusu Azumi, who is Tomozaki's neighbor, and the second is Minami Nanami, who sits next to Tomozaki in the home economics class. The third person Tomozaki can choose on his own. The task involves initiating conversations with these girls about simple topics, like asking for a tissue or discussing discontinued makeup. Tomozaki, the protagonist, attempts to start conversations with these girls using various approaches, guided by Hinami's advice. In level 2 of the game, gaining lots of levels after winning a battle feels amazing. Tomozaki is instructed to talk to some girls while ensuring Hinami is nearby. He's about to talk to Minami Nanami, who is in the track and field club with Hinami. Tomozaki decides to lay low for now as Hinami isn't around. Nanami questions why he's early, but Tomozaki doesn't have a good reason to tell her. He tries to keep the conversation going by praising teenage girls for their empathy, but Nanami finds his comments strange. Others join the conversation and tease Tomozaki, making him feel awkward. Later, when asked what happened, Tomozaki recounts the awkward encounter, but nobody finds it funny. There's some disagreement among friends about who's acting weird. One person, Nakamu, is accused of being the odd one out. They try to settle it by taking a vote. Nakamu's friend, Tomozaki, also gets involved. Eventually, Nakamu gets the most votes for being weird. Then, they suggest challenging Tomozaki to a game to get revenge. After that, the topic shifts to Aoi, another friend, who did something cool. But then, Mimamai starts tickling Aoi, which makes things awkward. Tomozaki expresses his gratitude to Minami, Mimamai, for helping him out earlier. He thanks her for her assistance, and she responds casually, telling him it was no big deal. Tomozaki then remarks that he finds Mimamai funnier than he initially thought, referring to a previous interaction. Mimamai tells him he can call her by her nickname, Mimamai, and explains the origin of the name Tama for Hanabi Natsubayashi. They discuss a prank they pulled on Nakamura, who is holding a grudge against Tomozaki for a past incident. Tomozaki also reflects on his conversational skills, admitting he's still struggling but noting that he found the home economics class lively. Mimamai mentions that Hanabi, known for her sincerity, may not always conform to the conversational tone set by others. Overall, Tomozaki acknowledges Mimamai's help and discusses various social dynamics with her. Hinami continues guiding Tomozaki on improving his social skills. She discusses the importance of posture and its connection to confidence. Hinami instructs Tomozaki to maintain a proper posture, explaining that it can positively impact his mindset. She then assigns him a task to practice maintaining good posture throughout the day and engaging in conversations with her or others. Additionally, she mentions the significance of this exercise in preparing Tomozaki for his long-term goal of having a girlfriend. Tomozaki expresses his gratitude and acknowledges the challenge of speaking his mind, to which Hinami encourages him, emphasizing the value of his honesty in conversations. They conclude their discussion with Hinami advising Tomozaki to observe people's reactions during conversations to determine his next steps in socializing. Mimamai is talking to Tomozaki. She notices that Tomozaki and Aoi Hinami seem to be acting oddly around each other. Mimamai thinks there might be something going on between them. Tomozaki denies it, but Mimamai finds it amusing and encourages him to be more fun. Tomozaki explains that he doesn't always prioritize having fun and compares himself to Tama, who doesn't easily change her ways for the sake of fun. Mimamai admires Tama's steadfastness and says she's there to support her. Mimamai then compliments Tomozaki on his ability to speak his mind, but Tomozaki thinks everyone should be able to do that. Mimamai points out that not everyone is as flexible as Tama, who sticks to her principles even when it's not fun. Mimamai then leaves, and Tomozaki reflects on the conversation, feeling like he managed well. Mimamai's energetic personality kept the conversation lively. Tomozaki reflects on his conversation with Hinami. Hinami praises Tomozaki for his conversational skills and tells him that he excels at speaking his mind, which is a valuable skill. She explains that conversations often have roles. One person introduces new topics, while others expand on them. Tomozaki realizes that he and Mimamai are often the ones who start new topics. Hinami mentions her habit of saying hexactly and explains its origin from a retro game called Goboinko. Despite the diversion, she emphasizes the importance of practicing introducing and expanding on topics. Hinami gives Tomozaki flashcards with conversation topics to help him practice. Aoi gives him a pocket recorder and tells him it's helpful to record conversations to understand how he speaks. Tomozaki agrees and listens to the recording. Then, Aoi invites him to hang out on Saturday at Omiya Station at 11 a.m. Fumiya Tomozaki meets with his mentor, Hinami Aoi, to learn about fashion and social skills. Hinami explains that their goal for the day is to improve Fumiya's fashion sense by learning shortcuts to putting together a well-coordinated outfit. She suggests starting by looking at a well-dressed mannequin in a store, explaining that buying the entire outfit from the mannequin can help Fumiya borrow the store's fashion sense. Hinami compares this approach to following experienced players' strategies in gaming. They discuss the importance of learning from others when starting something new. Hinami then encourages Fumiya to choose a mannequin outfit to try on, emphasizing the importance of taking action to improve. Fumiya is unsure about trying on the outfit directly from the mannequin and asks if he can simply buy it instead. Hinami explains that trying on the clothes is necessary to ensure they fit properly. When Fumiya approaches the store employee to ask about trying on the mannequin's outfit, he feels nervous and hesitant. Hinami encourages him to be confident and make the request promptly. They then move on to discussing lunch plans and Hinami gives Fumiya feedback on his speaking style, advising him to use short, expressive phrases to convey his emotions more effectively. She encourages him to start practicing this immediately. Hinami Aoi and Fumiya Tomozaki unexpectedly encounter Fuka Kikuchi, a classmate, while dining together. Hinami observes Fuka's actions and concludes that she has potential to be Fumiya's girlfriend based on her behavior. Hinami notices that Fuka seems to show special attention to Fumiya, even greeting him before others, which indicates her interest in him. Hinami explains to Fumiya that Fuka's behavior suggests she's interested in him romantically, and she encourages him to consider pursuing a relationship with her. Fumiya feels unsure about the idea, as he's not sure if he genuinely likes Fuka. However, Hinami reassures him that being attracted to someone because they're cute is a valid starting point to explore deeper feelings. Despite feeling uncertain and hesitant, Fumiya decides to approach the situation with sincerity and give it his best effort, agreeing to pursue a potential relationship with Fuka. Hinami Aoi congratulates Fumiya Tomozaki for achieving his small goal of getting someone to ask if he has a girlfriend. Despite Fumiya's modesty, Hinami acknowledges his efforts in following her guidance to improve himself. Hinami then sets a new goal for Fumiya, to go somewhere alone with a girl from school, excluding herself. She explains that this is a common activity among friends and isn't necessarily a romantic date. Hinami also instructs Fumiya to talk to Yusu Azumi at least twice a day as part of his ongoing tasks. Fumiya expresses confusion about why he should focus on Yusu Azumi when Hinami previously mentioned Fuka Kikuchi as a potential romantic interest. Hinami explains that building connections with one girl can indirectly improve his relationships with others, and advises Fumiya not to worry about sincerity at this stage of his development. Fumiya Tomozaki decides to fulfill his task of talking to Yuzu Azumi twice every day for a week. During their conversation, Fumiya struggles to find topics to discuss and feels disheartened by his awkwardness. Later, Fumiya receives a message from Hinami Aoi reminding him of their meeting the next day. Reflecting on his conversation with Yuzu, Fumiya realizes he needs to improve his communication skills and show genuine interest in others. Hinami encourages Fumiya to persist in his efforts and reminds him to relax and engage with the person he's talking to. Despite feeling discouraged, Fumiya resolves to do his best and improve his social skills. Fumiya Tomozaki encounters Yuzu Azumi and Fuka Kikuchi at school. Fuka, who seems to be interested in Fumiya, coincidentally meets him during a classroom changeover. Yuzu and Fumiya engage in a conversation, during which Fuka joins them. Fumiya notices that Fuka seems different from how she usually appears in class, as she's engaging in a conversation with him that feels more personal and friendly. During their conversation, Fuka reveals that she's writing a novel and asks Fumiya if he would be interested in reading it. Fumiya, surprised by the request, agrees to read her novel and provide feedback. Fumiya feels honored by Fuka's trust in sharing her work with him and promises to keep it confidential. This interaction marks a significant moment for Fumiya, as he realizes the depth of connection he's forming with Fuka through their conversation. Hinami Aoi and Fumiya Tomozaki discuss their recent interactions with Fuka Kikuchi and Yuzu Azumi. Hinami questions Fumiya's approach to his relationship with Fuka, suggesting that he shouldn't deny her affection and should consider going on a date with her. Fumiya expresses concern about the sincerity of his actions, but Hinami encourages him not to use sincerity as an excuse to avoid taking chances. She reminds him of his task to talk to Yuzu Azumi twice a day, acknowledging that although he didn't succeed in every conversation, he still made an effort. Hinami explains that in life, even when you fail, you gain valuable experience. She compares this to leveling up in a game, suggesting that Fumiya has gained experience points, XP, through his interactions with Yuzu. She emphasizes the importance of learning from failures and continuing to grow. Fumiya Tomozaki encounters Yuzu Azumi at school. Despite feeling awkward and struggling to find topics to discuss, Fumiya tries to engage in conversation with her. During their interaction, Fumiya notices Yuzu's gloomy expression and inadvertently upsets her. Feeling disheartened by his lack of conversation skills, Fumiya decides to stop taking the initiative in their interactions. Reflecting on his failures, Fumiya questions his abilities and feels discouraged about his progress. Izumi used to walk home with her friend Shuji often. But lately, Shuji has been spending all his time practicing a game called Tackfam after school. When she expressed interest in playing too, Shuji brushed her off, saying she wasn't good enough and would just get in his way. Feeling frustrated and left out, Izumi decided to buy her own copy of the game to practice alone. However, despite her efforts, she hasn't seen much improvement. She's also upset because Shuji, who she thought might like her, seems more interested in hanging out with her than with another girl named Erika. Erika confessed her feelings to Shuji, but he rejected her. This made Izumi wonder if Shuji might have feelings for her instead. However, Shuji's responses to Izumi's attempts to spend time with him have been dismissive and cold. Despite feeling disheartened, Izumi decides to take action and asks Tomozaki to teach her how to play Tackfam so she can challenge Nakamura, a skilled player at the game. Tomozaki agrees to help her practice at his place, leading to a mix of excitement and nervousness for Izumi. Tomozaki is giving Izumi some advice on how to improve her skills in a game called Tackfam. He points out that while Izumi is good at the basics, her gameplay still has some flaws, particularly in her neutral game. Tomozaki explains the concept of a short hop, which is a quick jump technique, and emphasizes its importance in mastering the game. To help Izumi practice, he gives her a stopwatch and instructs her to practice button mashing to perfect the short hop. Additionally, Tomozaki suggests that Izumi memorizes a match between top players to understand key techniques better. He explains that mastering these moves is essential for her to compete with Nakamura, a formidable opponent. Tomozaki provides detailed instructions on how to execute different moves in the game, including their commands and attack ranges. In the game Tackfam, there are different areas marked in blue and red. Blue shows where your attacks can reach, while red indicates where you're invincible. Tomozaki has memorized all these details for every character in the game, which is pretty impressive. He don't play Tackfam just to make friends or get praise though. He is more focused on getting better at the game. He always felt like an outsider and haven't enjoyed typical school life much. But recently, he met someone with a similar attitude who convinced him that life itself could be seen as a game. So he started taking life more seriously, learning strategies, and putting in effort. And surprisingly, he changed because of it. He believed that even now Izumi can change too, if she want to. It's like finding the right tools to defeat a difficult boss in a video game. Euro pretty miraculous, just like the changes he experienced. Tomozaki receives tickets for a movie preview screening from Hinami, who suggests he should ask Fuka out on a date. Tomozaki then has a brief interaction with Kikuchi in the library, where he admits he hasn't actually read any of the books by Andy, but he had been pretending to read one to formulate game strategies. Tomozaki apologizes for misleading Kikuchi and expresses interest in having a genuine conversation next time, regardless of their favorite authors. He also considers reading books by Michael Andy in the future. Tomozaki decided not to ask Kikuchi to the movies because he felt it wouldn't be fair to get her hopes up. Instead, he planned to tell Hinami about it. Later, in the AV room, Nakamura challenged Tomozaki to a Tackfam match. Yuzu, who wasn't supposed to be there, wanted to play too. Tomozaki was worried about Nakamura being upset over his friendship with Izumi. They started the match, but it got interrupted when Yuzu showed up unexpectedly. Tomozaki is playing a game called Tackfam against Nakamura. Nakamura is trying his best to win but keeps losing. His friends are watching and cheering him on. However, Nakamura is becoming increasingly irritated by Erika's persistence. He questions why Erika is so obsessed with the game and accuses him of being creepy. Erika intervenes and confronts Nakamura for being rude to her. She criticizes Nakamura for his arrogance and mocks him for his inability to win despite playing the game repeatedly. Tomozaki, frustrated by Erika's attitude, defends his passion for the game and expresses his disdain for people who belittle others' efforts without understanding them. Despite the tension, Nakamura continues to play, determined to improve and eventually win. Shuji Nakamura is being teased by his classmates for his dedication to a video game called Tackfam. They mock him, calling him names like creepy and weak, and belittle his efforts, saying his practice is pointless. Tomozaki defends him passionately, explaining that Tackfam is more than just a game, it's a challenging and rewarding pursuit. He argues that the game is deep and meaningful, deserving of respect. Despite the ridicule, Shuji is proud of his progress and the effort he puts in, and he refuses to let others undermine his hard work. His classmates start to understand his perspective, acknowledging that being serious about something can be admirable. They even admit to playing Tackfam themselves and recognizing its depth. Shuji talks about his struggles with a technique called short hop and using strong attacks quickly in the game Tackfam. He finds it challenging but is determined to keep practicing, keeping his reasons a secret. After the practice, Yuzu and other friends join in, and Shuji expresses his determination to win next time. Tomozaki, observing the situation, notes that Nakamura and Kano have stopped bothering him, possibly because of his efforts. Tomozaki then brings up the topic of Fuka, suggesting that they seem to be getting along well. However, when Tomozaki asks Hinami to watch a movie with him, she declines due to club commitments but suggests going afterward. Tomozaki feels a sense of accomplishment from his efforts, although not in the context of his offline life or relationships with girls. He reflects on the joy of achieving results through hard work. After competing against Nakamura, Tomozaki spends his weekend playing a game called Tackfam instead of joining others in karaoke or shopping. He reflects on a movie he watched with Hinami and how discussing it afterward could help them bond. Tomozaki realizes that he needs to improve his conversation skills and show more emotion. He believes that repetition and practice are key to mastering life's challenges. Despite letting Hinami choose their activities, Tomozaki feels like he's starting to understand himself better. He also remembers important details about Nakamura, like his birthday and school. Tomozaki is determined to approach life like a game and improve his social interactions. He considers taking the initiative more in hopes to challenge Nakamura in Tackfam soon. However, when he accidentally mentions Nakamura's birthday to Hinami, he realizes it's still a month away and apologizes for being insensitive. Tomozaki is approached by Nizusawa, who compliments him for being bold and speaking his mind. Nizusawa suggests that Tomozaki invite another girl, aside from himself and Mizusawa, to go out for a meal as it would be good practice for Tomozaki's goal of spending time alone with a girl from school. Nizusawa suggests inviting Izumi because they had discussed Nakamura's birthday, and Izumi might want to buy him a present. Tomozaki agrees to invite Izumi but hesitates because he doesn't want to inconvenience her by asking her to join their shopping trip. He realizes that Izumi may feel uncomfortable accepting help or favors from others. Tomozaki feels unsure about how to proceed in the situation. Tomozaki decides to buy a birthday gift for Nakamura to mend their relationship after things got awkward between them. He believes that even though they're both fans of the Tackfam game, they should be able to get along better. Mizusawa, Tomozaki's friend, supports the idea and offers to help pick out the gift. However, Nizusawa notices changes in Tomozaki's behavior, like getting a haircut and becoming more outgoing, which makes him suspicious. He wonders if Tomozaki read a book to improve his social skills. Meanwhile, Tomozaki receives an invitation to join a group for planning Nakamura's birthday gift. Despite feeling unsure. Later, while they're out to eat, Tomozaki is teased about his unusual behavior by his friends. Tomozaki finds it difficult to join a group for planning Nakamura's birthday gift, feeling a bit hesitant about it. He accepts the invitation but feels unsure about his decision. When he joins the group, he notices his friends are already there and wonder if he's late. They tease each other playfully, and Tomozaki wonders if he's been quiet for too long. Then, he's asked for gift suggestions for Shuji, which makes him think about what would be a good present for him. Tomozaki is asked to think about what Nakamura likes to find him a suitable birthday present. He's given the task of making 2 successful suggestions during their outing. Making good suggestions can influence the group's mood positively. Tomozaki ponders gift ideas and remembers Nakamura's interests in Tackfam and his appearance. He suggests styling wax, which everyone agrees is a good idea. Tomozaki feels encouraged by making a successful suggestion. Tomozaki considers what type of hair product to buy for Nakamura's gift. With help from his friend Hiro, he learns about different styling options based on hair type. After some demonstration, Tomozaki decides on a product and feels relieved. Reflecting on his self-image, he resolves to keep improving. Next, they decide to eat, and Tomozaki suggests a pizza place. They enjoy their meal together, and Tomozaki notices Aoi's love for cheese. Afterward, they part ways, ending their outing on a positive note. Tomozaki bids farewell to his friends as they leave. Later, he checks messages where Yuzu asks about rumors regarding Hinami and Nizusawa. In a conversation with Hinami, she points out that he didn't suggest enough during their shopping trip. Reflecting on his progress, Tomozaki realizes his appearance has slightly improved, boosting his motivation. He considers Mizusawa's suggestions and learns that the success of a suggestion doesn't always depend on its quality but on how persuasive it sounds. This revelation surprises him, but he understands its significance for social interactions. The negotiation game is described as a game where you persuade others to join your cause. It requires good communication skills and understanding others' preferences. The goal is to convince influential people to support your ideas. The game emphasizes the importance of persuasion and tailoring your approach to each person. It also highlights the strategy of exploiting loopholes or bad rules to achieve your goals. This strategy involves presenting your suggestion in a way that others can accept, even if it's not the best option. The conversation suggests that real-life interactions can be like a game, where understanding and persuasion are key. Later, the discussion shifts to student council nominations, with several students expressing interest in running for positions. Hinami is talking to Tomozaki, explaining that she wants him to be Nanami's campaign manager for the student council election. Initially, Hinami planned to have Tomozaki as her own manager, but now that Nanami is running, she wants Tomozaki to support her instead. She believed that being around Nanami will help Tomozaki improve his conversational skills. Tomozaki is hesitant, worrying that he might cause Nanami to lose. However, Hinami reassures him that the outcome of the election doesn't depend solely on the campaign manager. She emphasized their admiration for Nanami but also her confidence in her own abilities. Despite Tomozaki's initial reluctance, Hinami encourages him to accept the role of Nanami's campaign manager. Nanami is approached by Tomozaki, who is excited about the upcoming student council election. He expresses his desire to be a campaign manager, specifically for Nanami. Tomozaki ponders the reasons why he supports Nanami, a quieter and less popular candidate, over Hinami, who is more outgoing and well-liked. Despite Nanami's popularity, Tomozaki feels a connection to Nanami's desire for change. Meanwhile, Hinami, the popular girl, has chosen someone else as her campaign manager. This decision surprises Tomozaki, but he remains committed to supporting Nanami in the election. There's a lot of excitement surrounding the student council election. Someone is enthusiastically promoting Hinami, praising her intelligence, popularity, and appearance. They're encouraging others to vote for Hinami, believing she can address the school's issues effectively. Meanwhile, Tomozaki is approached by Nanami, who shows him her campaign promises. He notices some issues with the layout and offers to help improve it. Mimamai, on the other hand, asks Tomozaki to assist with her campaign after her junior, Yumi, is unavailable. Despite initially declining, Tomozaki agrees to help Mimamai. They begin by working on a platform flyer together, with Tomozaki focusing on the details to make it more appealing. Mimamai appreciates Tomozaki's assistance, and they start collaborating on her campaign efforts. Tomozaki is asked why he's so determined to help Mimamai. He explains that he wants to see Hinami, a strong opponent, lose in the election. He enjoys challenges, and Hinami seems like a tough opponent to beat. Mimamai also shares their desire to defeat Hinami and explains that they were initially discouraged but decided to run for the election anyway. They believe that making some changes can help them win. Tomozaki acknowledges the Mimamai's determination and agrees to help them with their campaign. They discuss focusing on campaign messages that appeal to students and highlight Hinami's strengths and weaknesses. Tomozaki also reflects on his own desire to challenge Hinami, inspired by his experiences in gaming and his belief that life is like a game. He sees defeating Hinami as a way to improve himself and become stronger. Nanami interrupts a tennis practice to campaign. She's enthusiastic and even licks someone's belly button as a playful gesture, leaving others surprised. She pitches an idea for an electric ball pump to stimulate club activities, impressing a senior named Shirori. Mimamai, who's also campaigning, receives support from some girls, boosting her morale. Later, Tomozaki and Nanami discuss campaign strategies, and Nanami shows Tomozaki a cute item she bought, but Tomozaki doesn't understand why she finds it cute. They then discuss their plans for the following day, focusing on securing votes. Lastly, Nanami questions Tomozaki about his determination to beat Aoi, showing her curiosity about his motivations. She compares herself to Hinami, explaining that while Hinami and Tomozaki have a rivalry as top players, she feels overshadowed by them. Nanami reveals that she's always been second best, both academically and athletically. She expresses her desire to win to prove herself and overcome her second-place status. Nanami believes that by defeating Hinami, she can finally step out of Hinami's shadow and gain recognition for herself. She acknowledges that Tomozaki's support is crucial for her campaign and expresses gratitude for his assistance. Finally, Nanami declares her intention to challenge Hinami with her own unique approach, hoping to succeed where others have failed. Tomozaki and Hinami are discussing campaign strategies for Nanami's election. Hinami asks Tomozaki to help her with something related to Nanami's campaign. Tomozaki agrees, understanding that it's important for Nanami. Hinami then gives Tomozaki some advice, warning him not to push Nanami too hard during the election because Nanami tends to overdo things without realizing it. Tomozaki assures Hinami that he'll keep an eye out for Mimamai. Later, Tomozaki prepares campaign materials for Nanami's election, including jokes for her speech. Nanami is surprised by the humorous approach but approves it. Tomozaki then discusses his strategy of visiting only first-year classrooms to gain support for Nanami's campaign promise of installing air conditioners in every classroom if elected. Nanami and Tomozaki discuss their successful strategies to gain votes from first-year students and sports clubs. They then prepare for Nanami's campaign speech, with Nanami eagerly anticipating it. Tomozaki reveals the ending of the speech, which surprises Nanami with its effectiveness. Nanami appreciates Tomozaki's help and acknowledges his unexpected gesture. Finally, they express determination to defeat Hinami and succeed in their campaign efforts. Tomozaki talks about feeling well and being busy lately. He mentions missing the excitement of fighting a character named Nanashir in a game called Tackfam. However, he expresses confusion because Nanashir has actually been fighting another character named Inoname. Despite the confusion, Takahiro Mizusawa mentions giving his best effort, referring to his involvement in a campaign for Aoi Hinami. He discusses a campaign strategy involving elevating Aoi's position from a mentor to a boss-like figure. Then, he introduces Aoi's campaign speech, where she aims to bring about real change as a candidate for Student Council President. Takahiro Mizusawa observes how well Aoi Hinami's campaign speech is being received by the audience. Despite this, Takahiro reminds himself that their strategy doesn't rely on winning all the votes. He discusses their plan to target specific groups, such as athletes and first-year students, by addressing their concerns, like the lack of air conditioning in classrooms. However, Takahiro is surprised when Aoi promises to install air conditioners in every classroom, which wasn't part of their initial plan. Despite his doubts, he notices how Aoi manages to control the mood of the audience and persuade them with her promises. Takahiro reflects on the challenges of fulfilling such a promise but acknowledges the power of Aoi's persuasive skills. Finally, he expresses his support for Aoi's campaign and prepares for the next candidate's speech. Minami Nanami delivers her campaign speech for the Student Council President election. She emphasizes the importance of making the school a fun and enriching environment for everyone. Minami expresses her desire to improve both academic and extracurricular activities, aiming to boost the school's overall spirit. She also mentions her approach to addressing issues without going overboard, as advised by Ms. Kawamura. Additionally, Minami discusses her awareness of her opponent, Aoi Hinami, and the need to outmaneuver her strategically. Despite facing challenges, Minami remains confident and hopes to earn the support of her peers. After Minami's speech, her supporters, including Tomozaki and Takahiro, express their admiration for her efforts. They acknowledge the competitive nature of the election and await the results with anticipation. Tomozaki learns about the results of the Student Council President election. Aoi Hinami wins with 416 votes, while Minami Nanami receives 131 votes. Despite Minami's loss, Tomozaki and his friends acknowledge her efforts and express optimism for the future. Afterward, Tomozaki reflects on the campaign tactics used, particularly regarding a scripted incident involving Navi, an AI assistant. He acknowledges that while the tactic didn't secure victory, it was an interesting experience. Additionally, Tomozaki faces criticism for his involvement in the campaign, with suggestions to be more discreet in supporting Minami. Despite the loss, Tomozaki's rival recognizes his potential and encourages him to keep applying himself in life. Lastly, Tomozaki considers his next task, going out alone with a girl from school. He contemplates asking Kikuchi to see a movie, reflecting on his progress and experiences throughout the election period. Tomozaki has a moment with Kikuchi, where he nervously invites her to see a movie with him. Despite his initial awkwardness, Kikuchi accepts his invitation, and they both seem happy about it. Afterwards, Tomozaki reflects on his progress toward his goal and decides to read more books by an author named Andy to have something to discuss with Kikuchi. Later on, Tomozaki is found in the library by Tama, who comments on Aoi and Minami's competitive dynamic. Tama expresses concern about Minami's determination, mentioning that she's even practicing before Aoi arrives, which surprises him. Reflecting on Minami's dedication, Tomozaki realizes his own determination to succeed, especially after seeing Minami's efforts. He acknowledges his desire to win and the challenges of being a loser, particularly in contrast to Minami's persistent practice habits. Tomozaki reflects on the concept of effort in life. He discusses the importance of making continuous efforts to achieve goals and the notion of perseverance without compromising. However, he acknowledges that despite putting in a lot of effort, some challenges in life may not be easily overcome. Tomozaki then has a brief interaction with his friend, Tama, who comments on Minami's dedication to practice after losing the election. Tama expresses surprise at Minami's commitment, indicating that she even beat Aoi Hinami to morning practice. Reflecting on Minami's determination, Tomozaki ponders if she has always been this dedicated and realizes they haven't known each other for a long time. Tomozaki talks about how she became friends with Minami, also known as Mimamai. Initially, Tama didn't talk to anyone in their first term of school, including Minami. However, in the second term, Minami started bothering Tama by poking her cheeks and trying to interact with her. Tama felt annoyed by Minami's actions but couldn't make her stop. Despite her initial resistance, Tama gradually started feeling more comfortable around Minami and others in their class. She admires people who are good at making friends and wished she could be like them. One day, Aoi approached Tama to talk about Minami. Aoi revealed that Minami was trying to help Tama by engaging with her, even though she was reluctant to interact with others. Aoi suggested that Minami's actions were meant to help Tama feel more included and comfortable in their class. Although Tama found Minami's behavior irritating at times, she now understands that she was trying to befriend her in her own way. Despite knowing Minami's intentions, Tama pretends not to notice, allowing Minami to save face. Mimamai reflects on the taste of her sweat, which she finds unpleasant after prolonged physical exertion. Tomozaki then talks about meeting Tama after leaving the library and engaging in conversation with him. Tomozaki notices Minami's energetic behavior as she playfully interacts with Tama and him. Despite finding Minami's actions amusing, Tomozaki reminds her to calm down. In the Saitama Prefectural Tournament, Asahara and Kusunoki's team lost. Despite the loss, they feel proud to have made it far in the competition. They try to encourage each other to stay positive and move on from the defeat. Meanwhile, Nanami seems distracted, possibly due to recent events. Tomozaki notices Nanami's behavior and reflects on how she's been acting since the election. It seems Nanami is preoccupied with something, which affects her focus during discussions. The characters discuss Nanami's behavior and speculate that she might be trying to compete with Hinami. They talk about how it's hard to understand Hinami's motivations when you don't know what she's aiming for. Tama reflects on how she imagines different people's feelings as she writes her novel. Minami admits she doesn't really understand Hinami and her actions. She also discussed the difficulty of competing with someone when you don't know what drives them. Tomozaki worries about his friend, Minami, who seems to be overworking herself to beat Hinami. Despite feeling like quitting, Minami decides to keep going and respect herself for trying. Minami's friends notice her dedication to basketball, despite feeling down about losing. Minami seems upset and feels like their progress in the tournament isn't good enough. Her friends try to reassure her, reminding her of how far they've come thanks to her efforts. They also express concern that Minami might be pushing herself too hard, practicing even at home and possibly not getting enough rest. They wonder why Minami seems fixated on Hinami, recalling a past basketball tournament where Minami's team lost to Hinami's. Minami's friends worry about her well-being and hope to talk some sense into her before she becomes overwhelmed. Minami's friends notice her absence from practice and become concerned. They recall Minami leaving quickly after homeroom, suggesting she might have gone home. They realize Minami might be struggling because of a past incident involving a basketball tournament where Minami's team lost to Aoi's. Minami felt inadequate after seeing Aoi's disappointment at not winning first place in a national tournament. Minami's friends worry that her desire to shine like Aoi might be pushing her too hard, leading her to overwork herself. Tomozaki reflects on his admiration for Aoi, a girl who always strives to be number one. He recalls a time when Aoi cried upon hearing another team had won first place, showing how important winning is to her. Tomozaki admits feeling inadequate compared to Aoi's drive to excel. Despite this, Aoi's kind words and encouragement during their high school years helped Minami feel valued. However, Minami felt further discouraged when Aoi surpassed him in a track and field event, reinforcing the belief that to shine, one must come in first. Nevertheless, Tomozaki tries to reassure Minami that she doesn't have to come in first to be special, acknowledging her brightness and worth beyond winning. Minami's absence from practice indicates that Tomozaki's words may not have reached her, leaving him feeling helpless. Minami reflects on the pressure to always come in first place. She realizes that focusing only on winning can make everything else seem worthless. Minami admits that her desire to beat herself, rather than others, drives her in Tackfam. However, she decides to quit the club due to physical strain. Her decision surprises her friends, but they understand and accompany her home. Minami expresses conflicting feelings towards Aoi. She admires Aoi's abilities and kindness but also feels jealous of her success. Minami struggles with these feelings, as she loves and respects Aoi but also wants to surpass her. Minami expresses her struggles with being a sore loser and feeling inferior to Aoi. She worries that staying in the club would make her resentful towards Aoi. Minami appreciates Aoi's hard work but feels envious and inadequate compared to her. Tomozaki reassures Minami, calling her his hero for always supporting him. Minami decides to quit the club to avoid negative feelings towards Aoi. However, Tomozaki lightens the mood by joking with Minami, calling her the world's #1 idiot in a playful manner. Minami's feelings towards Hinami seem to soften, and she is eventually allowed to rejoin the club. Meanwhile, Tomozaki prepares for a challenge before summer vacation. Tomozaki gives Nakamura a birthday present, a gaming controller, as Nakamura is a hard-working gamer. Nakamura appreciates the gift and accepts it. Tomozaki then asks about a rumor regarding Hinami and Mizusawa dating, but Hinami clarifies that it's not true. Minami apologizes for bringing it up, and Hinami offers apology gifts to smooth things over. Minami finds the gifts cute, although Tomozaki is not entirely convinced. Tomozaki's friend Hinami sets him a special task for the summer break, to go out with a girl, not her, just the two of them. Hinami wants to help Tomozaki improve his social skills, and she starts by suggesting he should start dating Kikuchi, a girl they both know. Tomozaki seems surprised by this idea, but Hinami points out that they have common interests, like Andy books, and Kikuchi seems to like him. Later, they go to a clothing store, and Hinami encourages Tomozaki to pick out some new clothes, hinting that it might help with his goal of dating Kikuchi. Hinami suggests that Tomozaki should start by going on a movie date with Fuka. She believes that going on this date rehearsal will help Tomozaki gain confidence and prepare for his date with Kikuchi. Before the date rehearsal, Hinami takes Tomozaki shopping for clothes. She helps him choose a t-shirt to go with the pants he already owns. Tomozaki learns the term slacks means pants, and Hinami advises him on what would look good together. She also encourages him to get a backpack, offering hers as a gift since it's a little frayed. During the shopping trip, Hinami and Tomozaki engage in a trade, with Hinami suggesting swapping a metal badge for the backpack to avoid making Tomozaki feel indebted to her. This shows Hinami's thoughtfulness and desire to help Tomozaki without expecting anything in return. Hinami helps Tomozaki add Fuka Kikuchi's contact information to his phone so he can message her. Hinami advises Tomozaki to message Fuka casually, mentioning that he got her contact info from Hinami and suggesting they see a movie together during the summer break. Tomozaki feels unsure but sends the message anyway. Later, Hinami reminds Tomozaki to let her know when Fuka responds. Tomozaki receives a quick reply from Fuka, who agrees to go see a movie with him. Hinami remarks that Fuka must be excited about the movie date, indicating that things are progressing well for Tomozaki's goal of dating Fuka. Hinami tells Tomozaki that his task for the day is done, but she asks him to keep his schedule open for the 4th and 5th. She invites him to join a barbecue event with her, Mimamai, Yuzu, Nakamura, Mizusawa, and Takei. Hinami explains that it's a plan to help Yuzu and Nakamura get closer. Although Tomozaki feels hesitant about attending, Hinami encourages him, saying that spending time with others will help him make more friends and gain valuable experience. She believes it will boost his experience points in social situations. Hinami also assigns Tomozaki a task, to tease Mizusawa 3 times during the event. She explains that it's important for Tomozaki to engage in playful teasing and challenge others to build stronger friendships. Tomozaki agrees to go and finds himself surprised by the unexpected turn of events when they end up at Mimamai's house, where he meets Hinami, Nanami, Mizusawa, and others. The group is searching for something in Mimamai's room when they come across some old controllers. Tomozaki learns that these controllers are no longer useful for Tackfam, the game they play, because it requires more precise controls. However, they can still be used for other games. Then, the conversation shifts to the upcoming barbecue event and the plan to get Yuzu and Shuji together. They discuss assigning roles for the barbecue, including lighting the fire, but decide against making Yuzu and Shuji do it because it's difficult. Instead, they plan other activities like splashing in the river. During the conversation, Mizusawa is teased a bit by the group. Eventually, Tomozaki complete the task of teasing him 3 times, as instructed by Hinami. Afterwards, Tomozaki shows interest in learning about hairstyling from Mimamai. Mimamai notes that Tomozaki takes things seriously, whether it's about gaming or personal grooming. Tomozaki confronts Hinami about her involvement in Mimamai's election speech. Hinami admits that she did help Mimamai with her speech, explaining that she'd use certain aspects of life, like speeches, hairstyles, and romance, as a kind of game. She mentions that she hates losing at games, which is why she took Mimamai's speech seriously. Tomozaki is surprised by this perspective but acknowledges Hinami's dedication and hard work. Hinami clarifies that she sees Tomozaki as a hard worker too, comparing him to a gamer because of his serious approach to challenges. Now the focus shifts to upcoming plans for the summer break, including Tomozaki's movie date with Kikuchi. Tomozaki feels nervous about the date but is determined to make it successful. Eventually, Tomozaki apologizes for being late, and he and Kikuchi head off to watch the movie together, marking the beginning of their date. Tomozaki and Kikuchi arrive at the movie theater to watch The Angel and the Caged Bird. They discuss their anticipation for the movie and share their thoughts on certain scenes from the trailer. After buying their tickets, Tomozaki tries to keep the conversation going by asking Kikuchi about her interest in books. Kikuchi explains that she started liking Andy's books when she was in elementary school after finding them in her school library. At the coffee copy right after the movie, they continue their conversation, and Tomozaki notices that Kikuchi sometimes finds it hard to talk to him. This makes him feel unsure about his social skills, despite his efforts to improve them. Kikuchi tells Tomozaki that despite finding him sometimes difficult to talk to, there were also moments when she felt comfortable with him, which was a new experience for her. Tomozaki feels touched by this and realizes that Kikuchi's remark was meant in a positive way. Encouraged by this realization, Tomozaki expresses his desire to go out with Kikuchi again in the future, and she happily agrees. After their movie date, Tomozaki receives a message from Hinami, who seems to know about his outing with Kikuchi and congratulates him on what seems like a successful day. Tomozaki reflects on Kikuchi's comment about finding him hard to talk to and acknowledges that it's due to his lack of experience and social skills. He decides that with more practice and training, he can improve. Feeling optimistic, Tomozaki invites Kikuchi to a fireworks show on August 6, and she agrees excitedly. Tomozaki feels thrilled about their upcoming plans, but he also remembers the overnight event with his friends and wonders how he'll manage it alongside his budding relationship with Kikuchi. Tomozaki and his friends are gathered together for an overnight camp. One of his friends, who is grateful to Tomozaki for helping them earlier, expresses their thanks, noting Tomozaki's heroic actions. This direct expression of gratitude is something Tomozaki doesn't often receive. The group starts their activities for the camp, which includes a plan to help two other characters, Izumi and Nakamura, get closer to each other. Despite successfully getting Izumi and Nakamura to sit together, the atmosphere remains somewhat awkward. As they begin setting up for the camp, the tasks are divided among the group members, with Tomozaki and Hinami assigned to start the campfire. Izumi realizes that her friend deliberately paired him with Nakamura for the tasks, indicating that it's part of their strategy to bring Nakamura out of his shell. Additionally, Izumi is encouraged to make more male friends, particularly focusing on Mizusawa, who is seen as a potential ally in their efforts to improve their lives. As they engage in activities like preparing food and setting up the campsite, Tomozaki reflects on how these experiences, which he might have previously rejected, are turning out to be enjoyable. Despite some mishaps and teasing among friends, the atmosphere is generally lighthearted. The group arrives at their destination for the overnight camp and immediately begins preparing for a barbecue. The atmosphere is lively, with a focus on enjoying grilled meat, although one of the characters reminds another to also include vegetables. There's a brief mention that one of the group members, Takei, wasn't present at their meeting, but the group decides to proceed with their plans without him. They discuss their strategy, which involves tasks assigned to specific members to help Nakamura become more social and to boost Tomozaki's skills. The tasks are divided among the group members, including food preparation, setting up the campsite, and starting the fire. Each task is assigned strategically, with the aim of fostering interaction among the group members and achieving their goals for the camp. The group is enjoying a barbecue at the campsite. There's a playful atmosphere as they banter and share food. Some members tease each other about their eating habits, like one person eating too much meat or another not eating enough vegetables. Despite initial reservations. However, one of the group members accidentally falls over, causing a bit of chaos. Despite the mishap, everyone laughs it off, and the incident brings the group closer together. The group is having a conversation during their camping trip. One of the friends, Shuji, is asked about his relationship with a girl named Shimano. Shuji explains that nothing is really going on between them, although she sometimes messages him. Tomozaki observes this interaction and realizes that Shuji might be feeling unsure about his relationship with Shimano. He decides to offer his thoughts, suggesting that Shimano might be leading Shuji on, which Shuji eventually agrees with. The group then decides to head to the girls' room to hang out and play a game called Tycoon. Despite the game being casual, some of the friends get quite competitive, with Tomozaki realizing he forgot his task in the midst of the game. As they play, they also discuss Hiro's interactions with a girl from another school, hinting at a potential romantic connection. Mizusawa reflects on his recent success in asking out a girl from another school. He's surprised by his own abilities, realizing that he's come a long way in his journey of self-improvement. However, despite his success, Mizusawa feels uncertain about his feelings towards the girl he asked out. He's not sure if he genuinely likes her or if he's just going along with it out of politeness. As Mizusawa discusses his feelings with Tomozaki, he realizes that he may not be as sure about his emotions as he initially thought. He considers the possibility of dating the girl even if he's not entirely sure about his feelings towards her. Meanwhile, the rest of the group, including Yuzu, seems more confident in their romantic pursuits. They encourage Mizusawa to be brave and to trust his feelings, recognizing that relationships often involve uncertainty and courage. The group decides to embark on a spooky journey back to camp. Despite their initial excitement, some members, like Tomozaki, admit to feeling scared. As they walk, some teasing occurs between friends, with Hinami playfully pairing up Azumi and Shuji, leading to some awkward moments. However, the group's attempts to set up romantic situations for their friends don't seem to be going as planned. As they continue their walk, the group realizes that their efforts to bring their friends together romantically might not work out. However, they remain hopeful and encourage each other to take action. Suddenly, the group is interrupted by Hinami, who suggests a special training exercise to boost confidence during scary situations. Despite feeling nervous, Tomozaki tries to stay calm and composed. There's a funny scene where Hinami gets scared by a cicada. Tomozaki, wanting to tease her, tries to use the cicada to startle her even more. However, he ends up getting scared himself and accidentally shouts out in surprise. Hinami, startled by the noise, falls down and asks for help getting back up. Tomozaki hesitantly offers his assistance, realizing the situation has turned out differently than he expected. Tomozaki and Hinami are participating in a test of courage. Tomozaki feels frightened but manages to win a small victory during their interaction. Despite his fear, he wonders what would have happened if he hadn't reacted the way he did. After the test, they reflect on their experiences. Tomozaki notices that Hinami seems confident and wonders if she had anticipated his reaction during the test. They conclude the event, realizing that small choices can have significant impacts. Then, they talk about another pair of characters who seem to be taking things slowly in their relationship. Despite not making big progress, they still plan to hang out together. The characters reflect on their own tasks during the camp and how they completed them. Later, they discuss the progress of the other pair and express their surprise and some admiration for their slow but steady approach. Hinami reflects on the behaviors of their friends, Yuzu, Shuji, and Fumiya. She notices that they express their emotions sincerely, whether they're happy or sad, and she admires their authenticity. This observation leads her to consider her own approach to life. Hinami realizes that she often feels like she's just going through the motions, not truly experiencing emotions or desires for herself. She compares herself to a player in a game, controlling a character but not feeling the consequences personally. She acknowledges that she tends to suppress her true self and instead plays the role that others expect of her. However, Hinami admits to feeling bored and unfulfilled by this facade. She longs to break free from the expectations placed on her and express her genuine feelings. Mizusawa opens up to Hinami about his feelings. He admits that he usually plays the role of the ideal boyfriend around girls, charming them and understanding their emotions. However, he finds himself behaving differently around Hinami. Mizusawa confesses his feelings to Hinami, expressing his admiration for her and his desire to understand her true feelings. Despite his fear of rejection, he feels relieved to have been honest with her. Meanwhile, Tomozaki accidentally overhears their conversation and hides, feeling embarrassed about intruding on their private moment. Fumiya apologizes for the misunderstanding, and Hinami reassures him that it's okay. However, Hinami chooses to maintain her facade and continue her perfect performance, despite hearing Mizusawa's sincere confession. Despite their outward similarities, Tomozaki observes a crucial difference in their approaches to authenticity. Tomozaki contemplates the choices faced by Mizusawa and Hinami, pondering whether to prioritize wearing a mask or embracing true feelings. He feels influenced by Hinami's suggestion to confess his feelings to Kikuchi after the fireworks, recognizing the potential success but also feeling conflicted about the idea of putting on a show. Later, the scene shifts to the fireworks show, where Tomozaki and Kikuchi attend together. The atmosphere is festive, with Tomozaki feeling a mix of embarrassment and excitement. Despite his initial reservations, he begins to enjoy himself, reflecting on the significance of the moment and his feelings towards Kikuchi. He notices a difference in their interaction compared to their previous movie date. This time, he isn't relying on memorized conversation topics. This leads to more moments of silence between them, but Tomozaki appreciates the genuine connection he feels as a result. During the fireworks show, Tomozaki realizes that he may have been mistaken about Kikuchi's perception of him being hard to talk to. He acknowledges that she found it easy to talk to him that night, which prompts him to reconsider his feelings towards her. Despite Hinami's suggestion to confess his feelings to Kikuchi after the fireworks, Tomozaki ultimately decides not to. He reflects on their conversation, acknowledging that it felt awkward and forced without the aid of memorized topics. Hinami suggests that instead of using strategies and countermeasures, Tomozaki should speak from the heart when communicating with Kikuchi. However, Tomozaki questions the concept of knowing what he truly wants, considering it a temporary and subjective idea. Hinami argues that focusing on genuine human connections rather than viewing them as tasks or goals is essential for personal growth. She implies that abandoning personal goals is akin to abandoning personal development. Tomozaki struggles with understanding his own desires and motivations, particularly regarding his feelings for Kikuchi. He realizes that he needs to prioritize authenticity and genuine connections over superficial goals. Tomozaki reflects on his failed attempt to bridge the gap between him and Hinami. He had hoped that by being sincere and genuine, they could overcome their differences and move forward together. However, despite his efforts, he feels like he lost the relationship he thought they had. Tomozaki realizes that he has been labeled as a bottom-tier character, someone who lacks the skills or qualities to succeed in social situations. He feels like he has failed, and it's disheartening for him to accept that he may never be able to fully connect with others like Hinami. Despite his disappointment, Tomozaki decides to take back his belongings, which he had previously offered to Hinami. He understands that he needs to let go of any expectations of progress or improvement and accept his current situation. He acknowledges that his chance to make a difference ended the moment he stopped trying.